Hi, it's Steve from PartSelect. Today we're going to show you how to change the shock absorber on your front load washer, and it's a really easy job. All we're going to need is a Phillips screwdriver or a 7mm socket or nut driver. We'll also need a soft-faced hammer, a pair of slip joint pliers, and an adjustable wrench. Let me show you how we do it. Now before we begin this repair, the first thing we'll need to do is to disconnect the power from the washer. And because you should really replace all 4 shocks at the same time, you may also want to pull the washer out far enough so that we can access the rear panel, as well as have room in front to access the lower access panel on the front. Now to replace either of the front 2 shocks, I begin by tilting the washer back and then setting it on just a couple of 2x4 blocks to hold the front panel up far enough that you can access the screws. So with either a 7mm socket or nut driver or a Phillips screwdriver, we'll remove the 3 screws on the bottom of the access panel. And I begin with the 2 outside ones first, and then remove the center one last. You may need to hold a little upward pressure on that panel while you remove the screw. Then just let it drop down and pull it away and set it aside. We now have access to both front shocks. They're attached to the base of the machine with a locking pin. It has a little lock tab on the side of it that we'll need to retract that locking tab first. Just press it in and then tap the pin completely out of its socket. And the top portion of the shock has a little arrowhead fastening that twists into an opening in the bottom of the tub. So we'll need an adjustable wrench to turn it 90 degrees and then drop them out of the tub. There's fairly tight quarters on the left side of this machine because you have an electronic board that controls the motor assembly. We'll need to be careful that we don't damage that. So just reach in until you feel the locking tab on that pin, depress it some. Now to remove the pins from the base brackets on these, you can either use a pair of slip joint pliers and just adjust them so that you can catch one jaw of the pliers against the end of the pin and the opposite jaw against the mounting bracket on the bottom. Or you can use a large flat blade screwdriver and just get it in behind the head of that pin and pry it outward while you're depressing that locking tab at the same time. Once the pin has started to move, you can grasp it with the pliers and pull it the rest of the way out. We will discard the original pin because the little locking tab may get damaged and it may cause it to vibrate or come loose. So then we're going to pull the base of that shock out of that bracket. And then with an adjustable wrench, just turn that upper portion 90 degrees until it pops out of the opening. Then we can remove and discard the old shock. Now to install the new shock, we're going to first position the top. We'll put that arrowhead fitting up through that slotted opening, and then we're going to twist it 90 degrees counterclockwise. And what we want to make sure that we do is that we have the wrench on the narrow dimension on the upper portion of that shock rather than the wide dimension. If we put it on the wide part, we will actually damage that top. So just make sure you have your wrench adjusted properly. Slide it into the opening. Keep an upward pressure on that shock so that we have it fully into its slotted opening. Turn it at 90 degrees and it will lock it in place. And then pull the bottom portion of the shock down into the mounting bracket on the bottom. till it lines up. And we'll take our pin, push it into the opening till it lines it up. And you should be able to push that in by hand, but if you can't get it to go all the way, just take a little soft-faced hammer and tap it completely. Once it bottoms out, you'll be able to feel the opposite side and see that that little locking tab is popped through. We'll do the same procedure on the right-hand side. Again, it's a little bit of a tight fit at the base, but there is room to push that pin out. Once we've replaced both front shocks, we'll put the front panel back on and we'll gain access to the back of the machine to replace the rear two shocks. Now to install that access panel, just line it up even on both sides, push it up into position. And it's a fairly tight fit, so we'll put that center screw in by hand first, and then we can replace the two outside ones. I'll now remove the two temporary blocks, and we'll go to the back of the machine. Now to remove the back access panel, we need to remove these 4 Phillips head or 7mm hex head screws. Once we've removed the screws, we can just give a downward pull on that panel and then pull it outward, slide the 2 tabs out of the bottom and remove it. Now we have access to both rear shocks, both mounted in the same manner. We'll need to depress that locking tab, pull the pin completely out of the mounting bracket, and then we can disengage the shock from the top. Just tilt the shock out of the bottom mounting bracket, take our adjustable wrench, give her a quarter turn, pop it out of the tub mount, and we'll discard the old shock. We'll take our new one, and again we're going to fit that into that arrowhead point into the slotted opening on the tub, and then we're going to turn it a quarter of a turn counterclockwise. If you look at the top of the shock, you'll see there's a little cam on the edge of that arrowhead that will allow us to turn it in that direction easily. Make sure we have a upward pressure on that so it bottoms right out. Turn it as best you can by hand, and then use your adjustable wrench. And pull the bottom of the shock down far enough to line up with the hole in the bottom mounting bracket. We'll take our new pin, and we'll take the new mounting pin, insert that in the opening, and you can press that into place with the slip joint pliers until it's completely bottomed out. The locking pin is engaged, and then we can replace the rear access panel. Line up the 2 tabs with the slots in the rear cabinet. Just press it down into place, and then with a little bit of a bend on it, just force those upper tabs into the slots. Then replace the 4 screws, and now we're ready to push the washer back into position. Now that we have all 4 shocks installed, we're ready to reconnect the power, and our repair is complete. I told you it was an easy job. Thanks for watching, and good luck with your repair.